So lovely to see you, and thank you all for coming along, and a massive thank you to EUFIC for asking us to be here. Airfield Estate is, sorry, I have no conflict of interest in this. We're too poor to have conflicts of interest. So what is Airfield Estate? They say that you should never work with children and animals. That's exactly what we do every day. So what could possibly go wrong? But we've stretched ourselves a little bit. Airfield Estate itself is 38 acres. We're located in the south side of Dublin City, right in suburbia. We're closed in on every side with either a tram system or roads or apartments. We were left by these two fantastic women that you can see in the black and white photo there, the Overend sisters. They left Airfield in trust for education and recreational purposes. They were formidable women, and we stand on their shoulders as we go forward into the future. But what we are about is aiming to inspire and enable people to make informed food choices. That means that on the farm, we create our own milk from our Jersey herd. We create beef, pork, lamb. Everything is grown organically and regeneratively. And that's really important for us, that we are getting to, we're open every day to the public. They can come in, they see how food is being produced. We have conversations with them. We're on track this year so far to do 10,000 students, which is amazing, and about 250,000 people coming through our gates as well. It is an absolute privilege to be talking to them about food and sustainable food and food cycles. And even from today, to know that we're part of something much bigger across Europe where people are doing the exact same thing. We're independent and we're an educational charity, which is great because it means that when we're talking to the public, we're talking to them from a completely unbiased standpoint. We want them to know about food. We will have the conversations about being vegan or vegetarian or organic versus industrial farming. Let's talk about it. Let's explore it. Let's understand it. What's important for us is that they understand where their food comes from and how it's created. They can make the choices themselves at that point. The challenge for us then is, how do we talk to these people? How do we make sure what we do is relevant? Well, for us, we're really interested in everybody, but for us, the story starts with our preschoolers and our toddlers coming into the gates. Everyone in Ireland is intrinsically linked to the land. We are very proud of our green fields. We're very proud of our green image. But most of our population is now three or four generations removed from farming itself. So despite having an interest in food and despite being connected to it, we're not connected to it. So we want people to come to us, because we know that preschooler, when they wander in, and we're also lucky enough to have a preschool on the estate as well. So there are children who attend Airfield from the age of 3, and they get to be on the farm as they prepare for school. They will come back to us again as primary school students, and we will work with them. But also outside of what Airfield does, they will get food education in schools. But what we want for them is to have an anchor in how it's created. That's really important to us, because they will go on and they will go into secondary school and they will go on into college, and eventually they will get jobs. And in Ireland, 8% of our population is involved in the agri-food industry. So it's incredibly important that we encourage children to get into that industry, especially if they're not from a rural background or an agricultural background, because we'll need to keep the industry going. But also because even if they're not in agriculture, we can see here from this conference today, there are so many different things attached to food and sustainability that we want to make sure that the scientists of tomorrow, that the bankers of tomorrow have an understanding of how important food sustainability and food cycles are. If they don't have that understanding, food won't be involved in their decisions. And so therefore, we're going to lose out as an economy and as a country. These people will then grow up and come to us and hopefully come to our restaurant on the estate with their friends. They'll see how food is literally brought from maybe 50 meters outside the restaurant into the restaurant prepared. And this year we've been really blessed. We have a couple of Michelin star chefs doing pop-ups at our location to really show how good Irish food is and seasonal Irish food is. They'll eventually become parents themselves, and that positive relationship that they've built over those years with food will be translated into their children. Make no mistake, we are in it for the long haul with these people. It is not enough for us to have that one moment, that one time where we meet that person and we try to give them all of the food information and they get terrified and they'll never come back again. We want to meet them where their learning is at. So we want to make sure that if they're confused about one tiny topic, then that's what we talk about today. Everything that we do is just this one topic at a time. One of the things we're very proud about at Airfield is our teaching methodology, which is discovery learning. This inquiry-based learning system for us is about making sure that we're not just a walk and talk. You don't come to the estate and the farm and we show you a chicken and this is a great chicken and it lays eggs and then we move on. We come to the farm and we say, well, what do you know about chickens? And that's where the conversation starts, because there's no point in talking to someone who's a chicken expert about expert. Do you see what I did there? Expert? No? Okay. There's no point in talking to a chicken expert about chickens if all we're going to do is talk about how often they lay. Our conversation will have to be different for that person. Whereas if we meet someone who's never seen a chicken before, never held a warm egg in their hands, that's where we start the conversation with them. So in order to make sure that we're getting the most out of this interaction with them, we have to ask questions. The more questions you ask a person, the more they have to interact, the more likely they are to remember that learning opportunity and that learning moment. And that's really important to us in what we do. So this is going to be a very this is going to be a very crazy slide, and in no way is it boasting, but it just kind of shows how much effort. We're a small organization. There's only 45 of us, from farmers and gardeners through to educators and people who work in advocacy. But we want to be a touchstone through the life of each person who comes to Airfield, whether you start at the beginning, the middle, or at the end of their lives. So everything we do has to have it has to be applicable to their lives and where they're at. So at the preschool, we have preschool, primary and post-primary and third level as our formal education in Ireland. And then I've just put extracurricular because that just means that it's not attached immediately to their learning curriculum. Our young people programs, we run programs all the way through from preschool all the way through to third level, where we even work with our local universities to create courses like botanical cuisine, where we teach chefs how to grow food sustainably in our gardens. They work with our farmers and our gardeners. So we're creating a generation of chefs that are going out and understand sustainability. Our outreach programs, it does have a cost because we're self-funded. You do have to have a cost to come to Airfield. However, to make it as accessible as possible, we have free visits. We work with local schools to have breakfast clubs where they collect eggs. They go down, see the cows being milked. They bring that back. They make butter. They have a nice, healthy breakfast. And then they go off to school. And it's not just about the food learning there, it's about the social learning, that they're talking over food, that they're engaging in a positive way with their teachers and with the guides. Those sorts of moments are very important. And our walk readability program is well worth a mention as well, purely because it is for young adults who have left the school system, who have mental or physical disability, and they get to work in Dublin on a farm, in a garden, in a restaurant situation with our facilities team, with our advocacy team. So we have a 75% employment rate for those participants as they leave, which is absolutely amazing for us, but it gives them a different outlet. Our adult impact then, to layer in on top of our children's, we have summer teacher training for our primary school teachers. We have this amazing community food hub for our DESH parents, and DESH in Ireland means disadvantaged. So when the kids are dropped off at school, they come into us and it's about confidence around cooking. That's what it is. It's not necessarily about pushing a healthy, this is how you change your protein up, this is all it. It is about giving parents from disadvantaged areas the confidence to take a recipe, if they have literacy issues, to take a recipe, cook with it. If they don't have an ingredient, what do they substitute in? All of this sort of stuff. And that's over 4 weeks. We've seen a fantastic result out of that. We run courses and lovely courses around parent and child cooking. This is a skill that was being really lost in Ireland, cooking, you know, with your children, teaching them how to cook for themselves, and passing on the stories, and that social time as well is so important. So these classes and courses are great. We also get involved in the curriculum, and we have an amazing program called Farmer Time, where we link a farmer directly to a classroom. Every 2 weeks, they have a virtual call from the same farmer into the classroom. So the children are talking directly to farmers, talking about what they're producing, how they're producing it, and learning all about the food systems. And then, just in case we didn't want to sleep, we have an entire research program going on behind this as well. So looking at food waste, looking at children's attitudes to food. Last year, we spent a whole bunch of time looking at early childhood food environments, because children in full-time care in Ireland can eat 70% of their meals in that environment. So what are we setting them up for? We know that it has to be nutritionally adequate, but do they have, can they make their decisions over food? Can they eat when they're hungry versus off a timetable? How are people talking to them about food? What words are they using? So all of that sort of research. And then this year, and it was fantastic to see it as a stream here as well, or a track, we're looking at research into food and biodiversity as well. So our plans for next year include that. So for the consumer, how much do they link biodiversity to food and their role within it as well? So influencing and impact, then we need to look at how we're doing it and how we're talking to people. So the very key thing for us is making sure that we identify the stakeholder. We have a really wide range of stakeholders at Airfield, everyone from preschool up to adult, and everything in between. We work with industry, we work with farmers, we work with people who have nothing to do with food. What's really important is that we are really trying to be laser focused about who we're talking to and why we are talking to them. Because if we're trying to hit everyone, we're going to miss everyone. So it's about being laser focused on that. Then we split it out into kind of on the estate and off the estate. On the estate, we have our whole food cycle. It was fantastic to hear about the food waste. We have a biodigester on the estate. So all of the food waste on the estate goes into our biodigester, and 72 hours gets spat out as compost, which we put back onto the land. So we have a closed food loop, which we're really, really proud of. Do I get a gold star for that? Excellent. So we have our restaurant, we have our farmers market, we have the food and gardens, but we also have a visitor attraction, which I'll talk about next, a brand new one. Then outside of the estate, it's very important. We can't just be this didactic source of information for people. We can't just expect people to come to us for all the information. We have to go outside the walls. So that means that we do lectures and talks, we attend conferences. We had a poster of our research at FENS this year as well, which was amazing. We have school programs. We work very closely with the media. Every time that there's a food issue, they come to us for that kind of voice of sense, I hope, and someone who's able to explain what's happening and why people need to care about it. We have our own curriculums that we put into schools and programs, and we attend conferences. But most importantly, now we're moving into the realm of advocacy, policies and submissions. We are really trying to get the Irish government to put food on Irish school curriculums. We're trying to get early stage researchers more interested in food and talking about food from wherever they're coming from. But absolutely everything we do is grounded in research. We are not interested in talking to people when it is opinion, when it is hearsay and conjecture, whether it's our own in-house research or whether it's using research from events like this or across Europe and across the world. We want to give people that information. So we're going to change the language slightly to make sure that people understand what we're talking about. But we see it as so important that we do this. And a couple of times we've had to change our opinions on things as new research comes out. And that's pivotal for the public to see as well. They need to see that you are saying, look, this used to be the way that it was, but actually now it's this. And so we're going to help you try and do this instead. So they really respond to that, and it's been super positive. Interesting that you have Foodscape that we were talking about earlier, because we have Foodscape World of Soil. our food conversations start at soil. That's where it starts. If the soil is right, the plants will be right, the animals will be right, we will be right. Okay, so when we started looking at how we were going to talk to people about food and farming, we decided we'd start at the very beginning. So we introduced 3 geodesic domes on the estate where people can interact with soil. They can learn how it's created. They can learn about what goes into it and what lives in it. And then they can look at how they can help soil as well, which is really important. When they leave those geodesic domes, they get to go into an outdoor hands-on activity zone, which is, again, incredibly important. The inside in the domes is very much kind of towards the older age groups, maybe 15 up to adult. As soon as they go outside, we're in the 5 to 12 age group. So we're trying to make sure that we're hitting families, but also giving people the opportunity to get their hands dirty, because we try to avoid soil. We wash it off as soon as possible, but actually all the amazing things that live in it are so fantastic. And then we get them with the science. And so we try and get them involved with citizen science. We have 2 amazing projects at the minute, one called Count Your Worms and the other one called Soil Your Pants. So you get to bury your pants and dig them up, probably, hopefully not in front of your neighbors, because that might be a bit weird. But it gets them involved with science and it gets them involved with the soil. But again, trying to bring the science back into that in an even more tangible way, we bring soil scientists to the estate to talk to people on Saturdays and Sundays. So we run these soil scientist sessions. It's Science Week in Ireland at the minute. So we are flooding the place with soil scientists, and the public are really interacting with them. And it's such a fantastic opportunity for young stage and early stage researchers to get out and talk about what they're doing, but also the older stage researchers to get out and talk about what they're doing and to reinvigorate themselves with how much the public actually want to learn about what they're doing. We've also then, as a result of having this, been involved in as the dissemination partner for some EU Horizon projects. And for us, that's amazing because it feeds back into our geodesic domes in the circle and talking to people about science and keeping it relevant, which is absolutely amazing. And as of last night, this you should all come to Dublin and see it, because it won a design award last night at an award ceremony. So we're very, very proud of it. And just finally then, as I come to the end, for Airfield and for what we do, sustainable food is a thread. It's not a topic. We don't want you to walk in and just think, okay, food, tick, box, done. We want you to go, okay, I see how it affects every aspect and stage of my life. I want you to walk away from Airfield thinking, I didn't know that, and I'm going to talk to someone about that. And that's the key. We found that being in person rather than online helps hugely, because we do think that if your hands are on, your heart is on. If you're physically interacting with someone or something, you're giving it more time and more energy. It takes longer and it's harder for people to get involved with, but it is absolutely worth it. On the other hand, after we've been involved with people, we need to lobby, we need to put in submissions, reports, go to conferences, be in the media, be a little bit of a pain in the proverbial for people that we want to challenge them on their food ideas and where it is. But most importantly, everything is underpinned with science, research, and absolutely a systems approach. And I'm so glad to be at FENS this year and see that systems approach taking shape, that people are contemplating everything from the soil all the way through to the consumer. And we are more than happy to help with that. So what I would ask you all to do as you leave here today is, when you go back to your research institutions, seek out the local NGOs talking about food, seek out the charities. They have access to people that you won't have access to, because they're not coming to you to seek out that information. You are going to meet them where their learning is at. You can empower them, and you have this amazing gift to give the public with all of this knowledge and all of this exciting opportunity and all of this exciting, all of the exciting findings that you have. So please, please, please go and talk to the public. They're so curious and they want to listen and they want to learn. So thank you very much.